I stood there before 300 people in my simple black dress, my dignity shattered on the cold auditorium floor. The microphone picked up every trembling breath, every pause heavy with humiliation, as my own sister, Letitia, pointed an accusing finger from the main stage. This woman, her voice echoed through the walls with a chilling coldness that cut deeper than any blade, stole $20,000 from our family business. She betrayed our trust, our family, our history. Murmurs spread through the audience like wildfire. Faces I'd known since childhood stared at me with disgust, disappointment, contempt. My mother, in the front row, covered her face with her hands, her shoulders shaking with silent sobs. My heart pounded so hard I felt everyone could hear it. It was the end, or so I thought. 22 years earlier, I was only 17 when my father suffered his first heart attack. Our family owned a small bakery downtown, a business that started with my grandmother selling homemade sweets from her front porch. Tears streamed down her face, tears that seemed so real that for a moment I even doubted my own motivations. That's when I saw Mrs. Maria in the back of the auditorium. She was crying too, but not because she believed the accusations. Her eyes told me everything. She knew who I really was. Next to her was Mr. John, his fist clenched and his jaw tight, clearly indignant at what he was witnessing. Other former employees were also there, all with expressions of outrage and disbelief. They knew my dedication, my character, my sacrifices. And then something inside me snapped. It wasn't anger, it wasn't despair. It was a strength I didn't know I possessed, a dignity that no humiliation could destroy. I took a deep breath, walked to the microphone Letitia had left on the stand, and asked for permission to speak. My voice came out firm, firmer than I expected. "You know me," I began, looking directly into the faces in the audience. "Some of you have seen me grow up in this business. You've seen my calloused hands. You've seen my commitment. You've seen my love for every detail of our bakery." I paused, feeling that I had finally found my voice. It's true that I withdrew $20,000 from the business account without previously informing my sister. But before you condemn me, let me explain why. Letitia tried to interrupt me, but I raised my hand, asking her to let me speak. 6 months ago, my sister began secret negotiations to sell our bakery to an investor. She didn't consult me, she didn't consider my opinion, she didn't think about what this would mean for our employees, for our customers, for our father's memory. My voice began to get stronger, more confident. That $20,000 was invested in necessary improvements that had been neglected for years. Improvements that Letitia always denied, claiming a lack of funds, while religiously withdrawing her share of the profits every month. I realized the atmosphere in the auditorium was changing. People were starting to really pay attention to what I was saying, not just the accusations they had heard minutes before. You want to know where that money is? It's in the new oven that allowed us to increase our production by 40%. It's in the display case that keeps our pastries always fresh and presentable. It's in the air conditioning that finally makes our work environment worthy of our employees. I turned to Mrs. Maria, who nodded encouragingly. "Mrs. Maria, can you confirm that over the past few months our sales have increased significantly?" She stood up, still with tears in her eyes, but now for a different reason. "Yes, dear, sales have doubled, and it's all because of your work, your dedication. You didn't steal anything, you invested in our future." That was the first crack in the narrative carefully constructed by Letitia, and I seized every word. "Mr. John, can you talk about how our delivery improved after we fixed the truck's refrigeration system?" The man, normally shy, found his voice. This young woman never thought only of herself. She always thought of all of us, of the customers. She works harder than anyone I know." One by one, the employees began to speak. Stories I didn't even know they knew. How I stayed late when someone needed to leave early for a family emergency. How I invested my own salary in materials when the budget was tight. How I never fired anyone, even in the toughest months, preferring to cut my own expenses. Letitia was visibly uncomfortable. Her script had been interrupted, and now she had to improvise. "That doesn't change the fact that she acted behind my back," she said, her voice losing some of its initial conviction. "She should have consulted me before making any decisions." That's when I played my final card. From my pocket, I pulled out a folder I had brought, unsure if I would have the courage to use it. "Since we're talking about transparency," I said, opening the documents, "I'd like everyone to know about the $50,000 that Letitia withdrew from the company over the past 3 months, claiming it was operating costs, but which were actually transferred directly to her personal account." The silence in the auditorium was deafening. Letitia turned pale, her hands visibly trembling. "These documents clearly show that while she accuses me of stealing $20,000 that were reinvested in the business, she herself withdrew more than double for personal use." My voice was calm now, almost cold. "Including $10,000 withdrawn last week, probably to pay for the costs of this spectacle." And if anyone still wasn't sure this story is worth every second of your time, maybe this is the time to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next installments like this, because what comes next will show how a single revelation can completely change the course of a life. The ensuing confusion was indescribable. People standing up, side conversations exploding throughout the auditorium. My mother looking alternately at me and Letitia with an expression of total bewilderment. But I wasn't finished. There were more secrets that needed to be revealed, truths that had been buried for too long. "There's one last thing you all need to know," I said, my voice cutting through the murmur. "The real reason Letitia wants to sell the bakery isn't because of a business opportunity. It's because she's already informally sold her share to this investor and spent the money in advance. She's desperate to finalize the sale because otherwise she'll have to return money she no longer has." Letitia finally exploded. "You have no proof of this. You're making things up to distract from what you did." But her desperate reaction only confirmed my words to everyone present. Calmly, I pulled another document from my folder. "This is the sales agreement you signed 3 weeks ago, and this is the bank statement showing the $60,000 deposit you received as a down payment." Letitia's fall was as dramatic as her attempt to destroy me had been cruel. In a matter of minutes, she went from vengeful accuser to a desperate woman trying to justify the unjustifiable. But I felt no pleasure in that moment, only a deep sadness for what our relationship had become, for what our family had suffered because of her ambition. My mother approached slowly. Her eyes were red from crying, but now there was a clarity in them that hadn't been there before. "Daughter," she said softly, her voice choked with emotion, "I'm sorry. I didn't know. I should have trusted you." She hugged me, and I felt the weight of the past few months lift from my shoulders. In the days that followed, the truth spread through town like all truths eventually do. Letitia tried to argue, tried to justify her actions, but the evidence was irrefutable. The investor, upon learning that the deal had been made based on false information, immediately canceled the agreement and demanded the return of the advance payment. Letitia found herself forced to sell her legitimate share of the company to pay off her debts. I could have gotten revenge. I could have humiliated Letitia the same way she tried to humiliate me. But I chose a different path. I offered to buy her share at a fair price, allowing her to get out of the situation with dignity. Surprisingly, she accepted, grateful that I hadn't made things worse for her. With the bakery finally under my complete control, I implemented all the changes I had dreamed of for years. We created a training program for young people interested in artisanal baking. We expanded our product line to include vegan and gluten-free options. We completely modernized our customer service system, but always maintaining the personal touch that set us apart from the big chains. Mrs. Maria was promoted to production manager, a long overdue recognition for her years of dedication. Mr. John became the coordinator of our delivery team, which grew significantly with the increase in sales. Every employee who had stayed by my side during the crisis was rewarded with better working conditions and fairer wages. But the most profound transformation happened within myself. In that auditorium, facing public humiliation and the possibility of losing everything, I discovered a strength I didn't know I possessed. I discovered that my voice had power, that my truth had value, that my dignity was unbreakable. I had spent years diminishing myself, accepting that others made decisions about my life, about my work, about my dreams. No more. Today, 3 years after that event, our bakery is recognized as one of the best in the region. We've been featured in specialized magazines, received awards for our quality and innovation, and most importantly, we continue to be a place where people feel welcome, where every sweet is made with love and dedication. Letitia and I reconciled, although our relationship was never the same. She moved to another city where she works as a business consultant. Sometimes we talk on the phone, cordial but distant conversations, like two acquaintances who share some memories in common. She never formally apologized for what she did, but she also never questioned my competence or my right to make decisions about my own life again. I learned that there are moments in life when we are tested to our limits. Moments when everything seems lost, when humiliation seems to be our inevitable fate, when everyone we trust turns against us. It is in these moments that we discover what we are truly made of. It is not the absence of fear that defines us, but what we do even when we are terrified. I also learned that truth has a power of its own. It can be temporarily suppressed, distorted, hidden behind more convenient narratives, but eventually it always finds a way to emerge. And when it emerges, it has the power to restore not only our reputation, but our own perception of who we are and what we deserve. My bakery today is not just a business. It is a symbol of resistance, of perseverance, of refusing to accept injustices. Every sweet we produce carries a little of that history, that struggle, that victory won at great cost. Our customers feel it, our employees live it, and I remember it every day when I wake up before the sun to start another day of work. A few weeks ago, a young woman came to the bakery looking for a job. She reminded me of myself so many years ago when I started working at 17 because of family needs. Her eyes shone with the same passion I felt, but also carried the same fear, the same insecurity of someone who isn't sure if their dreams are valid or achievable. I hired her that same day, and at the end of her first week, when she thanked me for the opportunity, I told her exactly what I wish someone had told me when I was young. You belong here. Your voice matters. Your dreams are valid. And if anyone tries to diminish you, remember you have the right to fight for your truth. Over the years, many people have asked me if I regret confronting Letitia publicly that day, if I wouldn't have preferred to resolve everything within the family, avoiding the scandal and exposure. My answer is always the same: no. Because at that moment, it wasn't just about me or my reputation. It was about all the people who work honestly and are discredited by those who should support them. It was about all the women who are underestimated, whose competence is questioned, who are silenced when they try to defend their rights. My story is not unique. Every day, women face similar situations. They are discredited by family members, their efforts are minimized, they are accused of incompetence when in reality they are the most competent in the environment. The difference lies in how we choose to respond to these situations. We can passively accept the narratives that others create about us, or we can have the courage to tell our own story. I chose to tell my story. I chose to fight for my truth. And I discovered that when we do this with authenticity and courage, the universe conspires to support us. The right people appear in our lives, opportunities open up, justice, even if late, prevails. Today, when I look at our storefront filled with colorful sweets, when I see our employees working with pleasure and pride, when I receive the grateful smile of a satisfied customer, I know that every moment of difficulty was worth it. Every tear shed, every sleepless night, every confrontation faced contributed to building not only a successful business, but a life of purpose and meaning. And if there's one lesson I'd like to leave for anyone going through similar situations, it's this: never underestimate the power of a woman determined to protect what she loves. Never doubt the strength that emerges when we are cornered and forced to fight for our dignity. And never, ever accept that others define who you are or what you are capable of. Our truth may be questioned, our competence may be attacked, our story may be distorted, but our essence, our inner strength, our ability to rise even after the most painful falls, that no one can take from us. And that is what, in the end, determines not only our professional success, but our fulfillment as complete human beings worthy of respect. The bakery my father started as a small dream now impacts the lives of dozens of families, not only because of the jobs we offer, but because of the example we represent. We are living proof that honesty pays off, that hard work is recognized, that the courage to confront injustices can transform not only our own lives, but an entire community. Today, when I look at our storefront filled with colorful sweets, when I see our employees working with pleasure and pride, when I receive the grateful smile of a satisfied customer, I know that every moment of difficulty was worth it. Every tear shed, every sleepless night, every confrontation faced contributed to building not only a successful business, but a life of purpose and meaning. And if there's one lesson I'd like to leave for anyone going through similar situations, it's this: never underestimate the power of a woman determined to protect what she loves. Never doubt the strength that emerges when we are cornered and forced to fight for our dignity. And never, ever accept that others define who you are or what you are capable of. Our truth may be questioned, our competence may be attacked, our story may be distorted. And I, who once was an insecure young woman, willing to accept any narrative that others created about me, today am a woman who knows her own worth, who defends her principles without hesitation, who leads with compassion, but also with firmness. I transformed my greatest humiliation into my greatest victory. And this transformation doesn't end with me. It spreads to every person our story touches, inspiring others to find their own voice and their own strength. Because in the end, we all deserve to be recognized for who we really are: complex human beings, capable of mistakes and successes, worthy of respect and understanding, and above all, bearers of a unique truth that only we can tell.